Hi, this is Marina from Darkstar Astrology, bringing you the new moon on the 24th of March at 4 degrees Aries, which is Decan 1. So we are approaching the spring equinox where normally we'd all be coming out of hibernation, but it just seems like we're all going to be going into hibernation soon. Now, it happens on the same day as a volcanic Mars-Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. The new moon is actually also conjunct Black Moon Lilith, which really makes it truly a Lilith moon. That means that it's the moon is actually an apogee, counted as an apogee moon when it's furthest away from the Earth. And that's when I do count Black Moon Lilith as actually meaning something, because it is the lunar apogee. So the new moon has no special dignity in Aries Decan 1. However, the gutsy stars found here ensure that this new moon will be incredibly productive all the same. This period is great for the lone entrepreneur who works tactically. Here, the moon does not lean on others emotionally and is not afraid of working solo. So kind of handy for, self-isolation. Those touched by this new moon are also not moulded by what is popular or what loved ones expect of them. It's a time of inventions, some that are controversial, others fantastically unique, due to not being influenced by the mainstream. Now, Austin Kopok says Moon in Aries Decan 1 develops emotional self-reliance, but has a difficult time creating and maintaining emotional relationships with others, especially those relations which place the native in a position of vulnerability. This may be the reason for success here, because it's quite a successful decan, because normally people born under this will become married to their work. So we could become very work obsessive at this new moon. We're so emotionally connected with our mission that we make passionate fighters for our cause, whatever it may be. This is a time for activists and those who are willing to be heroes for their family or the greater tribe. Now that, the heroes are the doctors and the nurses at the moment. So, they really are on the front line. In the wider world, there will be those who act quite ruthlessly in order to preserve the integrity and independence of their homeland. Well, at the moment, it's, defending borders. And finally, Europe has closed its borders. Finally. So it's been, they didn't want to, but they've had to. So the new moon is on fixed star Deneb Katos, which is the sea monster. Now, I was just thinking sea monster. This virus is a kind of sea monster almost, because it does travel through droplets, doesn't it, really? Anyway, so Deneb Katos with the moon is a pioneer, reckless, headstrong, violent temper, and many quarrels. Sounds like a kind of negative Aries, doesn't it? And this star is a second magnitude major star found in the tail of Cetus, the sea monster. Robson says it causes self-destruction by brute force, sickness, well, we've got that, disgrace, misfortune, and compulsory change. Again, things are going to be made compulsory. While Elspert Ebertine says that Deneb Katons is inhibitions and restraints in every way. Oh my God, it is happening psychologically and physically. So that's unquote. And Aries does rule the head, so mental disturbance and hot-headedness go with the territory. Now, mental problems. I mean, a lot of people are suffering really bad anxiety with this virus, myself included, and I will talk about that later on, and other people that I know. Anyway, going back to the meaning of Deneb Katos is probably the very star that gives the Rams their selfish and kind of, well, all right, I'll be honest, spoiled brat reputation sometimes. This star is situated in the tail, so it makes them lash out without thinking at times. They can deeply wound, lacerate without meaning to. And interestingly, the constellation of Lassiter, the lizard, makes up quite a large section of this decan. So, as I said earlier, the new moon is actually conjunct Black Moon Lilith. Now, This brings up the whole question of hyperdimensional interference. And I did write a very long article on Black Moon Lilith when I sort of awoken to what she really is. And it sort of it basically made me delete all my Lilith posts apart from some of them, but like the aspect ones as well, and realising that she didn't have as much power as we think she has. And the dark goddess archetype is better, I think, seen in the chart by things like Ceres, Pluto, and, the Persephone myth in other, there are other stars and other, like Algol, for example. There are other better ways to find that archetype in the chart, because the archetype does exist, but I just think Black Moon Lilith is something totally different. So, the only Black Moon Lilith that counts is this one, because it's conjunct the moon or opposite the moon. And it has to be true Lilith, not the mean Lilith, which is just an averaged out path. So in the article I wrote, sometimes Black Moon Lilith is seen as a kind of ghost moon, a shadow. In myths, she's seen as a succubus, a night demon, and a baby killer. Modern day UFO abductions can also be associated with Lilith, as are night terrors. I know a lot of people are getting nightmares as well because of this virus. The abduction connection with Aries Persephone is strong with Lilith as well. So Black Moon Lilith is a lady of the night, whatever way you look at her. So, of course, as the forbidden seductress, Lilith is also connected with prostitutes. Actually, that occurred to me is, if we're all self-segregating, the promiscuity is going to be out of the question, isn't it, really? And I wonder what prostitutes are doing, whether people will still go and see them. Anyway, so in a Tom Montauk article I found, he mentions the Black Moon Lilith as an lunar apogee. And by the way, he's really into alien abductions and I don't know. I don't know whether he sees them as actual physical abductions or that they're kind of hyperdimensional, which is what I tend to see them as. I see them as demons. I don't think they actually physically do it. But anyway, he says that Black Moon Lilith as the lunar apogee. But there was another pattern early on. The incidents generally took place, and he was talking about like negative incidents before the new or full moon, when they happened during, and in later months they arose after. I found out this lunar pattern involved moon perigee and apogee, times of the month when the moon was closest or farthest away from the earth. Troubled days occurred between the new, full, and perigee apogee dates. Well, during this new moon, the apogee takes place just 6 hours after the new moon. So this really does count as a very disruptive lunation. So the first face of Aries to fit with this kind of, quite intense new moon and the stars of the new astrological year, really. So the first face of Aries, as described in the Picatrix, and do bear in mind this was written many I don't know how many hundreds of years ago, but anyway, it's quite a long time ago. So they often used a black man to describe things. I'm not quite sure whether it was a sort of esoteric thing, but anyway, they say the form of a black man, restless and great in body, having red eyes and holding a cutting axe in his hand, girded about with a white garment, and there is great worth in his face, and this is a face of strength, high rank, and wealth without difference. So everyone being equal. That's kind of interesting, because I think now with this, when you sign on to, say, a online grocery store now, you have to wait in a queue, and you're all equal, and now also, I think there's going to be rationing too. So it doesn't matter. Well, maybe rich people will get round it somehow. Maybe they'll have sort of special access to things. But I think it is a good leveler. And I know Well, I mean, it's really sad because I know a lot of people in the entertainment industry. My sister and her husband, they both work in the opera. My sister's just in shock. She goes, I came into work. They told us that the Colosseum's closing until further notice, and she's been laid off. She's been working there for about 10 years. And her husband's a conductor, and he also teaches in schools. Both of them now unemployed, and they're double income, got a very high mortgage, and they don't know what they're going to do. So there you go. Anyway, so I'm sure there's, so many people in the same position, really. But anyway, so my summary: with the influence of the Black Moon Lilith as the lunar apogee and the mentally unstable sea monster Deneb Katos, I would expect the fear and panic in the collective to go into overdrive at this time. Sorry to say this, but it's going to happen, isn't it? Plus, Mars is aggravating both Pluto and Jupiter. Saturn has moved away from Pluto, though, and has also just entered Aquarius to give us a taste of what it will mean for us over the next 2.5 years. I've looked at Mars conjunct Pluto as well, and it seems to be the proverbial phoenix from the flames. If we learn to channel this wild energy well, then we can survive anything. And this combination is also a daredevil. It's fearless to the point it may indeed have some kind of death wish. That's the meaning for it. Mars conjunct Jupiter has a courageous survival instinct to it as well. So I think, this feisty energy does not cry over spilt milk. It is a conquistador and conquering machine, constantly on a quest to make, expand, learn, better themselves and grow. Life is one big adventure for Mars Jupiter, even if it produces some accidents along the way. The protection from Jupiter will serve us well at this time, except we will probably have a few battle scars to show for our trophies. So, it calls for courage. I think it is survival instincts. And some people have been saying this is a kind of negative thing to be in fear, but I don't know. I am panicking a bit, but I'm taking my daughter out of school today. They haven't closed the schools in England yet. And I just think, no. So she's done, when she comes home from school today, that's it. It's just my instinct saying that. And maybe I'm panicking. Maybe I'm not making rational decisions. But isn't it those split second sort of panic decisions that you make that sometimes are life-saving? So I don't know. I just had a very strong thing this morning. No, she's not going to school anymore. And she's got an interview for her sixth form on tomorrow, actually. And I said, no. I don't know why. It's it's only one more day. But I just think every day counts in this. And I will look at the coronavirus properly in a separate video because I don't want it to take over every single astrology thing I do. But it's very hard for it not to at the moment. And this is very much a survival new moon. So I think I will leave it at that. And I'm going to add a little rant on my camera, to camera. So you can see I still exist. All right, so yeah, here I am in my newly painted studio, all for nothing, because now I don't think I'm going to be putting my house on the market due to the coronavirus. And look, now, this is the thing. I've read a lot of kind of conspiracy things, and oh, where's the camera? It's that side, isn't it? I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of conspiracy stuff, and I don't know what to believe anymore. And all I know is that I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to think, the problem is whether you believe it or not, the rest of the world is believing it. So people are too scared to come around and view houses. So it's not the optimum time. And if there's going to be no exams, then there's no kind of point me moving anyway, because the whole point was for my daughter's sixth form. So people might say, "Oh, you're being really stupid. You're falling for the fake news that there is this virus out there, and maybe there isn't." I don't know. But the point is, at least my house all nicely painted, and I get to live in a nicely painted house for the next year. And I don't mind self-isolating, to be quite honest, because that's what I do most of the time anyway. I'm a bit of a hermit. I don't go out much, and my life is very digital. I mean, maybe that's what they want. Maybe that's what you'll say, that, oh, you know, that's what they want, people not to mix in real life. But, you know, it's just a year, and during this year, I'll probably do a lot of videos. I'll probably do a lot of work. I'll probably do more weekly stuff. We'll see how it goes. But I just wanted to say, hi, this is my new, I just love this Dorchester. It's actually called Dorchester Pink, the colour, although it's more purpley here. But I really love it. And maybe it's just good to well, I don't feel so alone in my hermit mode of living now, because I know a lot of other people will be doing it as well. So maybe that's what's needed. But also, if I get a feeling that it may be a biological weapon, or it's nature correcting itself anyway, so there's a bit of a reset going on, and it'll be, can you imagine the whole of the world with less aeroplanes, less traffic, less fumes. I mean, I'm sure that there'll be freight, won't there? But people learning to live more local. I think this is a kind of interesting experiment, and maybe that's what's going on. Maybe the elites are conducting an experiment to see how we react to being more local, which is kind of what we sort of want anyway. And they've closed the borders of the EU. So there's, I don't know, I think there may be some good sides to this. But as I said, you know, I've done a bit of prepping. I've bought, even though I've been gluten-free and wheat-free for the last God knows how many months, I actually bought a load of spelt flour. 10 packets. 10 kilos of spelt flour. So I sort of got inspired because my auntie and uncle in Sicily, they're sort of bunkered up, that's the word. They're in their bunker in the countryside. They can grow their own food. I mean, this is the amazing thing. They can grow their own food. And my auntie said, oh, we've got loads of farina, we've got loads of flour, and they've got the tomato sauce that they grow themselves, and olive oil that they grow themselves, and they'll be fine. They'll just make they say we're going to make homemade pizzas and homemade pasta. You know, they don't need to stock up on pasta there. They're making their own. And I just thought that really inspired me. So I thought, you know, I've got a bread maker. I've got everything that's self-sufficient in my house. I've got an exercise bike. I've got a trampoline. I've got my garden. So I'm sort of looking forward to it. It's a bit perverse, really. My daughter, I mean, she's got her best friend across the road. And then I thought, you know, another thing about moving is that why move to a place, even if I do move, there'll still be self-isolation, and I won't be able to make any new friends anyway. So I might as well stay in the place where I've got my daughter's dad near. I know people, I know my neighbours here, and my sister and her, my brother-in-law, they're round the corner. My best friend's around the corner. So you might need, you know what I mean? You in these times, you might need people that you're close to. But to move somewhere an hour and a half out of London, I don't know anyone. I might sell my house. I might find one, but then I won't know anyone. So yeah, it's hunker down. But I feel positive though. That's the thing. I feel positive. I don't feel like I'm doing it out of fear. I feel like I'm doing it out of challenge. I've also bought 5 kilos of chickpeas, dried chickpeas, so we can make our own hummus. So it's, I don't know. I'm strangely optimistic in a very odd way. But today's the last day of my daughter being at school. She's not going in after this, and I just feel yeah, I just feel hunkered down and we'll be fine, and see it as a challenge. But I don't feel safe with her going to school, and that's just survival instinct maybe. And yeah, and seeing all those Italians singing on their balconies, you know, I just thought, wow, that's so inspiring. And yeah, maybe we'll be singing in our gardens and singing over the fence to our neighbours, because we're not in balconies here. We're like in a road. Let's see if I can show you it. Whee, there's me. Oh no, you can't really see. Yeah, there's my neighbours. So okay. So yeah. So yes, live from London in the war zone. Well, the war zone's everywhere now, isn't it? But I'm in Lizard Central, so Lizard Central won't let me leave yet. So another year of being in Lizard Central. All right then, thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon. You'll probably see a lot more of me now because I finished decorating, and I'll be back to the astrology. So yeah.